Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy. My guest today is Howard Berg. He actually has a Guinness Book of World Records, and it is of speaking fastest speeded reader in the world. 1990 Guinness Book of World Records reading of 25,000 words a minute. Can you imagine that? And writing more than 100 words a minute. You know, you kind of see those cartoon things going like this. That was him. So, and he's now teaching people how to speed read. You know, he's sharing those secrets in the world's fastest reader. He's a graduate of SUNY, SUNY, Binghamton, where he majored in biology and then completed 4 years in psychology program in 1 year. His graduate studies are of several New York colleges focused on psychology of reading. That's going to be interesting, isn't it? He's a spokesperson for Sony e-reader along with Justin Timberlake, Peyton Manning, and Amy Sedaris. He's appeared on many radios and TV stations, but really what he does, he has the Berg Learning Company.com, which is all about helping people how to read fast, how to write fast, why it's important, how it can help you in business, how it can help you in life, how it can help you as a student, and just basically, you know, really, I think, kind of speed up the brain in many ways as well. Welcome to the show, Howard.
Thank you for having me.
So I just have an image of, you know, you kind of speaking that fast or writing that fast. It kind of been almost kind of cartoonish, like somebody who's just put the camera on speed, you know. So have you always been like this? Is something you trained to do, or is you?
I don't speak that fast. I know the world's fastest speaker. We launched the 4G network in Australia together. And so he speaks 2,500 words a minute and I read 25,000.
Wow.
So if you were to speak at that speed, it would sound like a fax machine. But if you'd like, I could show you how I got started if you want me to share that.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, in a very bad part of Brooklyn. It was the projects. There were a lot of gangs. It was very violent. And I found at a very young age, the safest place in my neighborhood was the library, because gang kids would rather be dead than caught in a book reading place like a library. So I read a lot. So I had college reading when I was 11. I started at around 3,000 words a minute before I sped up. And then I went to the State University of New York, Binghamton, and I majored in biology. In the second half of my junior year, I got interested in how the brain works. So I wanted to be a psychobiologist, not a psychotic biologist. That's Frankenstein. Psychobiology is the biology of behavior. So I told the dean, he looked at me and said, you haven't had any psych courses. You only have 1 year left. You have to do the whole program in 1 year. Finish bio at the same time. He said, you'll need to take 6 science courses at once, 2 4-hour labs. Back then, lab reports were on slide rules. So that took 16 hours. So it was 40 hours a week a lab, 18 credits of science. And to make it a little challenging, I had 3 jobs. I was working 18 hours a week. And he looked at me and he said, you're not smart enough. And that's when it hit me. They never taught learning in school. They tell you what to learn, why to learn, what happens when you don't learn. But you hear a song on the radio once, you know it your whole life. And you read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you know any habits the next day. Every way to learn things that matter, like you learn the songs. And I got up to 80 pages a minute, and I was able to remember it. So I finished the psych program in 1 year. I took the GRE, which is like the SAT for graduate school in biology, and I reviewed like 48 books in 3 nights, like biochemistry, genetics, cell physiology, and I got 3 questions wrong. So I got an 800. I was in the 99th percentile in the world. And then I wondered, was it me or the system? There's a big difference between I'm a freak of nature or I found a way that people can learn faster. That's not the same. So I taught children 11 to 15 how to do this. And they did a 30-chapter book in lifelong developmental psych, a sophomore course in a week. They took the advanced placement test, and 15 out of 18 passed the college course in a week. And then I trained the U.S. Special Forces at Fort Bragg, the Canadian Forces in Toronto, the Royal Thai Army in Bangkok. I've been all over the world with this. And I'm here today to share with our audience what they've been taught and how they were able to accomplish these things so they can start doing this in their business. It's a knowledge-based economy, and everything's based on what you know and information. So by the end of this show, they'll be much better prepared to handle that information.
Here's a big question, though. We hear all the time about retaining the information. Now, learning it fast, reading it fast. They say the brain can only take in so much at a time. What's your argument against that?
Completely right. Speed reading didn't work the way it was taught. When MSNBC first launched about 25 years ago, Dick Cavett, very famous talk show host, he interviewed me, told me a story about Woody Allen, who took Evelyn Woods, read War and Peace in 5 minutes. I said, that's incredible, Woody. What do you remember? And he said, it's about the Russian Revolution. That's all I remember. And that was speed reading. It's a biology book. I think it's a calculus book, but I didn't understand any of it. I fixed it. And if you'd like, I could show you how to read faster and then how I fixed it to make it easier to learn. To me, learning was always more important than speed. I was learning science courses. I couldn't just know it was a psychobiology book. I had to actually know what was in it.
Yeah, exactly. Book cover, book end, but the content in the inside. Or I think that, you've got people, that was on page such and such, but it is understanding. And the thing is that our brains, we'd only use, we use a mere fraction of our brain. And I think that in many, many ways, as more educated as we are supposed to become, the more knowledge that we're given, in a lot of ways, the more dumbed down we seem to have been, because we're relying on technology knowledge and this knowledge. Oh, I can't do it as fast as the computer. We'll let the computer do it for me. And I think that we're kind of not developing our brains the way we can, because did you ever see the movie Lucy?
I think I did.
With Scarlett Johansson?
Yes, I remember a long time ago. She was some kind of a freaky learning person.
Well, it was a drug that burst. They used her as a mule, and it burst in her stomach, and it went to her brain, and then she learned everything. But what happened is she ended up using her entire brain, but then her body and everything becoming obsolete, because she had transcended the body, right? So she actually became the computer, she became the knowledge. And it was really quite intriguing. It was a thriller and all of that, but it was quite intriguing is that how much of the brain can we actually ignite? What is the capacity for retaining the information?
I actually know that. I know the answer.
You do? I want the answer.
Well, the brain can make 10 to the 800th power connections. And to put that in a perspective, it's more than the number of atoms in the universe, the entire universe. And it includes the dark energy and the dark matter. So it's a very, very big number. That's why it never fills up. If you take a picture, like 20, 30 megs on your hard drive, you're taking 28 pictures a second with your eye. Every moment your eye is open, and it never fills up, because there's so much memory power there that it's not a problem as far as being able to store it, but we aren't taught how to store it. So I was going to show you 3 things. I was going to show you how to go faster, how to comprehend better, and then what you pointed out, how to remember. And by the way, memory is only part of it. If you memorize a calculus book, doesn't mean you know how to do anything. You know the formula, you know how to use them to solve problems. So those are different levels of learning. There's just understanding words and repeating what you heard, and then there's being able to use it in a creative and new way that no one ever thought of before. They're both called learning, but it isn't the same activity. And I could cover all of that in our interview and show how we can go from one to the other.
Yeah, before we do that, I just want to make an observation. I'm a knowingness coach, So it's all about channeling that knowledge, letting it come through the heart and its truth, getting into the spirit of the energy, but the mind knowing what it needs to know when it needs to know it. We have the hard drive of our mind, which literally is the entire mechanics of everything we say, do, think. It's what keeps the vehicle going, right? And then we've got the programming. And the thing is, we actually do have so much data already, in our hard drive and in our programming, but it's the accessibility of it. And for me, that's where the knowingness comes in. Is this knowledge relevant to this, what I need to know right now? And if I step out into the knowingness and just allow what knowledge to come forth, then I know actually how to use it. I've got the wisdom instead of just the knowledge. But when we think about how much is going on in our hard drive and in our programming all the time, if we actually had all of it up front, we probably would explode. It's meant to be kind of running there, ready?
You're
kind
right.
of access it.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be all at once.
Right.
You're asking a lot of questions. I can answer them. Where would you like me to start?
Well, the fact that we already have got all this knowledge there, I think the thing is accessing.
Okay, let's do
accessing that knowledge.
Let's do that. Okay, that's a good start. I'm going to call that creative blockbusting. Being able to put the dots together that are on your map and come up with something different and unique. I think that's also very important in business. A good example, before I go into specifics, would be Steve Jobs. Around the 90s, the early 90s, telephones looked like Captain Kirk's communicator. You remember those?
Yes, the flip
And
up.
he looks at it and he said, if I make this monitor, make it a little monitor, throw in a computer chip, we can make it do calls, but it could also run programs. We'll call it an iPhone. It turned out to make some money. Then he said, I can make it bigger. I can make it about the size of a sheet of paper. We'll call it an iPad. That made money. That's intuition. That's seeing what everyone saw differently. So how do we do that? There's actually 3 levels of learning: literal, implied, and inferential. Literal is what you see, the words on the page. Implied is what you're supposed to understand without being explained. So if I said, Sarah drank a glass of water, you won't go, wait, what's Sarah? What's glass? What's water? What's drinking? You're supposed to know that, or it wouldn't be able to tell you anything. The 3rd level is the significance. So let's do an experiment. I want you to picture a giant circle with a dot in the middle. So literally, what are you picturing? Just what I said.
A giant circle with a dot in the middle. But,
period. That's it.
Yeah.
That's literal. Does that strike you as astoundingly interesting?
Intriguing, because what does the dot mean and what's the circle made
of?
You're
smart. You're smart. You're going another level. But truly, just the circle with the dot is not very interesting by itself.
It's
and
like
you're
the
going
eye, isn't
deeper.
it?
You're going deeper because you're a smart person. But you're right. It's just, and that's what most learning's like. It's words on a page. Go read this. Why? Because I said so. And you have no idea what you're doing or why you're doing it. You're just learning a bunch of words. They mean nothing. You're memorizing them, but you have no idea what to do with them or why you need how to learn them in the first place. Level 1 learning. Level 2, the circle with a dot in the middle is actually a symbol. It's a symbol of the sun. And it was a symbol of the sun both in astronomy and astrology, because at one time, many years ago, they were the same. They're not anymore, but they were. So that's level 2. So that's a little better than it's a circle with a dot. It's a symbol of the sun. Now I'm going to tell you, it's one of the meanings of life. See, a circle with a dot. This is more like how Buddha might have given a lesson. I was very intrigued by consciousness. I studied a lot of yoga. I was a yogi when I was younger. I lived in an ashram on weekends. So the dot at the center is the symbol of spirit. It's everywhere and invisible. There's an infinite number of points wherever you look, and none of them are visible, like spirit or God. So it fills everything. It's everywhere you look, and you don't see it ever.
Right.
So that's the point. The circle is a symbol of a boundary. In the circle is self. Out of the circle is everything that isn't self.
Yes.
So what does it say? The center of every self is one thing, spirit. So everything is one thing, looks different, acts different, sounds different. Brotherhood isn't just a euphemism. humanity is an organism and you're a cell in that being.
Yes.
And we're no better than the weakest person in our family.
Mhm.
Their pain is your pain, and their success is your success. We're all connected.
Mhm.
So is that more interesting than it's a circle with a dot in the middle?
Oh gosh, yes. Well, actually, for me, what comes to mind is the eye. The
Yes.
pupil,
Yes.
which takes in that knowledge, but the circumference of the eye, it can only see up to a certain level. It doesn't
Yes.
need to see any further than that. It only needs to see what's in that circle, because that's all that's important, right? And the
Yes.
pupil of the eye is picking up the truth, the true
It's
resonance
like the
of what
circle
life
with the
is
dot in
about.
the middle is the pupil.
Exactly.
Now, would you like to go up another level and learn how to do this in business?
Yes, most certainly.
Okay. So I actually discovered how to turn on the intuition spontaneously. Remember, I studied psychobiology. The intuitive brain is actually the limbic system. It's the center of the brain. It's the emotional center.
Mhm.
And when you're getting an epiphany, it's usually a feeling, it's a
Mhm.
sensation, and it doesn't have words because the limbic system uses feelings and sometimes dreams, but it doesn't speak to us
Mm-mm.
in words. So how do we communicate with this? Here's a way you can communicate. You know, computers are zeros and ones, yeses and nos. If you ask it, first what I do is I read a bunch of books. I can read 10 books in 3 hours. A normal person probably could read 3 books in 3 hours. I had an 84-year-old read 3 books in 3 hours the day after I taught her. So it's not like off the scale a lot.
Mhm.
So I'm reading a bunch of books that have the data I need for my business problem. I don't know where the solution is yet, but I
Right.
know it's in that data.
Yeah.
So now I have to ask questions. That's the key to probing the unconscious. Ask this question as an emotional meaning to you, and I'll show you what I mean. If you said, Howard, do I need a root canal? I said, Sarah, you need 10 root canals. Would that feel good or bad?
That feels bad.
Unless you're the dentist.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Ooh.
If you said, Howard, did I win the lottery? I said, Sarah, you won $65 million. Would you feel good or bad?
I think I might feel a little good on that one.
Exactly. So you ask your question. How should you feel if it's yes, good or bad? And then how do you feel? Good or bad? And by judging those feelings, you're learning to communicate with yeses and nos with the unconscious. Now, here's the beauty of it. When a neural pathway gets used over and over again, it myelinates, it builds a coating, it makes it more like a highway instead of a dirt road. You're connecting the forebrain, the thinking brain, with the emotional brain over and over and over and over. And over time, it's spontaneous because that pathway, like learning to type, you don't have to think anymore where the letter A is, or playing an instrument, you know where the chords are. It's instinctive, but it wasn't like that at the beginning. You had to do it a number of times to build the neural web to get those pathways wired up. Once you've wired them up, you become intuitive.
Yes.
And you're able to judge what you need to do very quickly and see things no one sees. Can I give an example? Let's solve 3 big problems. How to create unlimited green energy while creating more jobs for coal, oil, and gas. Create hundreds of thousands of jobs and pay off the American debt all at the same time. In 90 seconds, I'll show you how that could be done. So
Are the politicians listening?
Probably not.
No.
How do you make electricity? Well, most electricity is you spin a wire in a coil of a magnet, or you spin a magnet around a coil of wire. It's spinning. And you can use water like Niagara Falls, but most of the places don't have Niagara Falls, so they use steam. And that's where the oil, gas, and coal and nuclear fuel heat the water. Well, in Iceland, it's a volcano. And they have the magma very near the surface, and they use the geothermal heat to boil the water with no pollution.
Right.
Which is great if you're an island which is a volcano. America isn't a volcano, but we have one of the largest supervolcanoes in the world in Yellowstone. So imagine the oil, gas, and coal companies put up the money and build geothermal power plants. It's got to be cheaper than finding a new oil field, finding magma in Yellowstone. And then you hire the people who are losing jobs and are out of work to build the infrastructure. And it's on federal land, which means you could charge a usage fee to every kilowatt and put it towards paying off the US debt.
Right.
So you could easily create unlimited energy, build a fantastic infrastructure that needs to be maintained, creating hundreds of thousands of jobs. And by the way, Yellowstone isn't the only place. There's another magma field on the West Coast in a ski resort, very big one. And there's one in Northeast in the Vermont area. It hasn't popped to the surface yet, but there's a huge bunch of magma because of the plates. The Atlantic plate is hitting the American plate, so that's where you get those magma uprisings where those plates rub up against one another. So that's an example of solving a business problem that most people say you can't solve a problem that big in 90 seconds, but you can. So that's an example of making the brain connect dots. But
right.
We also talked about the importance of getting more data to connect the dots. And if you'd like, I could share that as well.
Yeah, kind of in the work that I do at the knowingness, it's allow. Very often we dictate how the information should come to us. Right. So, I'm very much about allowing, very much about the intuitive. For me, it was like feel the knowledge, because when the gut attaches to it, it feels right. Do I have all the answer? No, but I'm on the right track. I'm in the right channel, right? Just allow,
Yes.
Take the journey. And what you need to know, when you need to know it, will come forth. You may not always understand it. Okay, I get that. All right, where am I going with it? Be adventurous, allow yourself to take the journey and let it unravel. But our egos are inclined to want to take control and dictate. Okay, yes, but I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. No, allow, because when we step out of what I call mind, the ego part of the mind, and allow that intuition to guide us, the knowledge is all there. It's there from the universal energy. It's there in our minds. It's all around us. Always the solutions are there if we are willing to allow ourselves to take that path without dictating or using ego or using this need to, which is ego, to be right, because I think if you're willing to be wrong, you'll discover what's right.
Exactly. That's how you eliminate what's wrong and what's left is right. By the way, that was how they discovered the structure of benzene. Kukuli was benzene molecules have 6 carbons. 3 of them have one bond and 3 of them have a double bond. And they had bizarre look and they couldn't figure out what it was. He dreamt about 6 monkeys running around in a circle, chasing one another. And he was able to visualize in his dream the benzene molecule. The 2 on one side would then switch to 2 on the other side. It would resonate. So when there was 2 and 1, it would be 1 and 2. And they go back and forth, super like the blades on a fan, super fast. And he got it through dreaming. And then he interpreted his dream. The monkeys represented the carbon atoms in his dream. And he realized that when he woke up, and that's how they discovered the structure of benzene, through a dream and visualizing, and then allowing his brain to make sense out of the dream.
I worked for a while with somebody, I don't know anything about the technology, but he had invented a different form of electric motor. And he was describing it to me, and it was way over my head. But I knew it had to be built. And in building it and in discovering it, taking something that had been in his head for 27 years and kind of me just igniting it, kind of giving him permission, go there. Discover. He discovered a quantum energy in it that was quite extraordinary. The only trouble is we got caught up with 2008 and somebody trying to steal the technology. And anyway, it didn't go anywhere, except it then became the epiphany. And along with a few other things, because I'm very much into numerology and I'm a true colors coach, which is our personality traits and perceptions, etc. And in taking, I was the muse. So in taking all of that knowledge and the knowledge that he got from the motor, he's actually ended up in discovering, how we use our minds, why we make connections with certain people, how to make connections with certain people, so that you actually are ended up with the entire round information instead of just one side. And now Microsoft is making it artificial intelligence. So you start off with one thing and you think, this is going to be it. And then, interference comes along and the redirection comes. If we allow ourselves to don't take the dream literally, but unravel it and just take it along the journey, allow again for that discovery. You know, it could still be that electric motor today, hands down, easily, but it ended up being something, you know, even bigger or equal, just because he was willing to take the journey. And it was always that, you know, this vision coming into mind, what if I just go down that road and make the discovery? So a great deal of our learning is the willingness to discover, isn't it?
Numerologically, all my names are 33s.
Yes,
my birth name was Goodman, not Berg. So it's
right.
Howard Stephen Goodman, and Howie's a 33 also.
Right.
So, but anyway, you're correct about that. What's important is that people are willing to be wrong to be right.
Yes.
When I teach people test taking, I tell them the first thing you do is find the wrong answers and cross them out, because all that's left is what probably is the right answer.
Right, exactly.
So if there's 5 choices and 3 of them are wrong, you're down to 50-50. Yeah. And you did study. So there's a good chance that somewhere in your brain, you can pick out which of the 2 is more right.
Mm-hmm. And again, you know, don't predict or dictate what you think the answer should be. You know, and
just
deduce.
Be open.
Yeah, be open and deduce. You know, well, that's a good answer. You know, but yeah, okay, all right, but that's limited. So, okay, let's just push that one aside. What's behind it? And I think that exploratory nature, I think, what opens up those neurons even more, because when we're willing to kind of not just stop at the status quo and be willing to look further and open up those channels even more, we really actually do realize, I mean, so many times when I interview people, they will talk about, I didn't know I was capable of that. I didn't know I could do that. And it's because they were willing to go through the process, you know, coming from being flattened and having to pick themselves up, go through the pain, go through the process, but in it, discovering strength, courage, and capabilities.
Because most successes are failures before they succeed.
Exactly. Yes. And I think that's part of the lesson, isn't it? Again,
it is.
What you know, don't do. And I think people, well, I can't speak that fast, or I can't retain that much. And again, it comes down to one step at a time, allow, discover, get into it, don't dictate, and don't give up.
And you're talking EQ now. If you say, I can't, then you can't.
Right.
Because it's a false belief, but it's a belief. And as long as that belief exists, the problem exists. So it's very important to examine our self-dialogue. Instead of saying, why am I a failure? And your brain will tell you a lot of reasons.
Yes.
You should say, how can I be a success?
Yes.
Or instead of saying, why do I have to learn this? You say, how can I learn this faster and better?
Right.
So the questions you're posing to your brain really determine what transpires. So when we have a negative self-talk, we're literally sabotaging our hard work. You're putting all the time in and the labor, but the outcome is going to be very poor because you've told your brain not to learn it. But if you'd like, I could show you how to learn faster if you think that would be helpful.
Yes, I'm sure that would be helpful to many people. Yes.
So let's pretend we're done with the show. Pick a book you've read after the show, preferably a nonfiction book, and get a timer and read for a minute. And don't do anything special. Just read the way you read and see how far you get. When the timer goes off at the end of the minute, put a little mark in the margin. See, that's how far I read now. Now the magic. Go to the second chapter. Take your hand. Go across one line at a time. Eyes following your hand as fast as you can comprehend. So as long as you know what you're reading, go quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker till you don't. That's when it got too fast, because you already know what's in the book. The only reason you don't know it is too fast.
Right.
Slow down just enough, your comprehension's back. For 5 minutes, read as fast as you could comprehend. Not faster, not slower. Go back to the first chapter. Time yourself for a minute with your hand, going as fast as you could comprehend, and you'll go 20 to 40% further than the mark. That's step one. As you pointed out, inputting the information doesn't matter. It's understanding. So let me show you how I fixed it. There's a thing in psychology called schema, and it's one of the key elements in understanding text. And I'm going to demonstrate it by reading a passage with no schema. Then I'll read it a second time with a title that has schema, and you'll see how the difference is in the comprehension. This is the schemaless text, very difficult to understand. This is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home. but you could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This is a major mistake that may cost you quite a bit of money. It's very vague, so you're not really clear on what I'm speaking about. I'm going to read it again with a title, one word, and instantly it all makes sense. Laundry. Laundry. This is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home, but you could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This is a major mistake that may cost you quite a bit of money. What schema is, it's the decoder ring. It's what makes the text on the page make meaning and significance to your brain. By training people where it is and how to find it, they can go 2, 3, 4 times faster with better understanding and very technical materials like law, medicine, chemistry, and actually know what you're reading and retain it. Yeah. And if you'd like, I could show you how to retain it next.
Well, the retaining, I think, is very important because, you know, people may read something and at the moment that, oh, that was intriguing. And then somebody's, well, what was it about? And all of a sudden, you know, you it's gone. But you were intrigued by it. You were really engrossed in it. How come I don't remember it? Because I know that it really felt good to read it. And now suddenly I don't remember it.
Well, there's 3 memories. Well, there's 4. The short-term memory is only for a few seconds. And that's good because you don't remember where you were stepping 568 steps ago. That would not be a good, you would not have a pleasant life if that's where your brain was.
Right.
Then you have intermediate memory, which is about 4 to 6 hours. But then the next day, you don't remember what you learned the night before because it never got into permanent memory, which lasts forever. So how can we speed memorize? Let me actually do an exercise and demonstrate it. And this is more than, it's actually a tool, not an exercise. I'm going to give you and our audience 10 things to remember. I won't show you how. You won't be able to. Then I'll show you how, and you will effortlessly remember them backwards and forwards with no effort. First, I'll give you the list. Pole, shoes, tricycle, car, glove, gun, dice, skate, cat, bowling pins. And if you're a normal person, you may know a couple, but certainly not all 10 effortlessly. And by the way, this is so simple, 3-year-olds can do this. And you'll see when I'm done that's true. 2 caveats. You only remember 10% of what you read, 90% of what you say and do. Since this is not an exercise, but a tool, when they ask you and our audience to say and do it, to lock it in. And then one of the secrets was discovered thousands of years ago in ancient Greece. Take a list you know that's hanging in your memory and put the new list on it. It takes less time to hang it on something there than start from scratch. And I'm going to bet, Sarah, you and everyone watching can count to 10. I'm confident I'm right. And we're going to use 10 numbers to learn that 10-item list super fast. Ready? The number 1 looks like a pole, like a flagpole. So when I say 1, you say pole. 1.
Pole.
Good. You wear 2 shoes. So 2 is shoes. What's 2?
Shoes.
What's 1?
Pole.
Good. 3 is a tricycle. 3 wheels. 3.
Tricycle.
2.
Shoes.
1.
Pole.
Good. You're looking for your pictures. 4 is a car. 4 tires on a car. What's 4?
Tires. A car.
2. Go to 2.
Shoes.
1.
Pole.
3.
Tricycle.
Getting easier. Your brain's learning what I'm doing. 5 is a glove. How many fingers in a glove?
5.
What's 5?
Glove.
What's 3?
Tricycle.
What's 1?
Pole.
Getting smarter. 6 gun. When I lived in Texas, they loved them. I never had one, but cowboys like 6 guns. What's 6?
Sorry, 6. What was
gun? Like a
gun? Oh, guns. Right, guns. Right.
6 is
guns.
4 is
a car.
2 is
shoes.
Good. Lucky 7 in dice. Lucky 7 in dice. 7 dice. What's 7?
Dice.
5. Give you a clue.
Glove.
3.
Tricycle.
1.
Pole.
You're almost done. Rhymes work. Say 8 skate, like a roller skate. 8 skate. What's 8?
Skate.
What do they love in Texas? 6.
Guns.
4.
Car.
2.
Shoes.
9 is a cat. 9 lives. 9 lives. 9 is a cat. What's 9?
Cat.
7 was lucky in what game? Lucky 7?
Lucky 7 cards. No.
7? Dice.
Dice, sorry, dice, yes.
That's how you learn, by the way.
Yes.
When you make a mistake, you correct it. The
Right.
brain remembers better. 5?
Glove.
3?
Tricycle.
1?
Pole.
Good. 10. How many bowling pins are in an alley? 10 bowling pins. What's 10?
Bowling pins.
Let's do 1.
Pole.
2.
Glove. No. Oh, shoot.
You almost got
shoes.
it.
Shoes.
There you go. You almost got it. Yeah. 3.
Tricycle.
4. Tires.
Tires. Car. Yes.
5.
Glove.
6. Texas.
Guns.
7's lucky in.
Dice.
8 rhymes with.
Roller skates. Rollerblades.
9.
Bowling pins.
9.
No, 9. 9. Cat's lives. No.
Cat's lives. Cat. And 10 was
bowling pins.
Good. Here's how you use it. This is the speed learn numbers. Numbers are hard.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in a hotel room. It's 314. By the time you go downstairs, you forgot what room you were in.
Yes.
Here's how to remember it. You use pictures for the numbers. 3 is a tricycle. 1 is a pole. 4 is a car. Make a movie. Tricycle hits a pole on a car. Tricycle hits a pole on a car. Tricycle, what number?
3, 1, 1.
A pole.
A pole is 1.
On a car.
On a car, which is 4.
That's a room. Tricycle, pole, car. It's also pi in geometry. 3 point. So I teach it to kids for science and math and history, business people. Due dates, percentages, phone numbers, room numbers. And the 0 is the 10 bowling pins, because in numbers there's only 9 pieces, 0 to 9. It's 10, 0 to 9. Those are the only symbols in numbers. It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They're place values, 0 to 9. So now you know how to speed learn numbers. Now this is one way of memorizing, and there are many. And it depends on the subject and your aptitude and your background. If you're reading something you're an expert in, you're going to go faster because you don't have to learn as many words and ideas. Then you know nothing, and you have to learn everything from scratch. But in each case, there are skills we can teach that will empower you to maximize both your speed, your learning and understanding, and your attention. And the last skill is EQ. If you're nervous or tense or frightened, it doesn't matter what you learned, you won't remember it.
Right.
So if you'd like, I could show you how to create emotional states.
Yeah, I just want to address the other one before we go on to that
go
one,
ahead.
all right? I'm very much a movie maker, picture maker, everything. It always goes into that. But the one of the things that I think repetitiveness is that, you know, when you have got something, kind of repeat it, have it in your mind, because then it becomes that solid picture that you do remember, as you said, instead of just forgetting it. So it's not like, oh, I've learned that. I'll retain it later. No, because we do really need to kind of make sure those pictures are very much in our mind. And, you know, I always say it takes 8 positives to undo 1 negative.
And you're correct. I teach all that in my full program at Berg Learning.com. Absolutely right. The only exception to that rule is something that's a strong emotional impact.
Yeah.
Getting married, having a child, serious death or an accident, the graduation. There's some things you don't have to memorize the day you graduated. You don't have to memorize when your child was born or when you met your love of your life for the first time. These things stick.
They're etched in your mind.
Emotions stick. But not everything we learn is so intensely emotional that it'll stick. So you're correct. Repetition is very important in learning, and there are ways to use it more effectively to learn more information in less time.
Yeah, it's like a performer, an actor or a musician will learn the words, get the words in a pattern, in a rhythm, and then they can actually then put the emotion behind it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's, you know, got to repeat.
Like a guitar player, they play very slowly.
Yes.
And then as they learn it, they can speed it up. But you can't just, unless there are, you know, the people that are really up there. They're professionals. They do this all the time. Their brain is wired for it. They speak the guitar. They speak piano. and they're fluid in it. And at that point, it doesn't slow down ever. They just go right through it. But most of us have to rehearse a lot to lock it in.
And, before we go into the next section,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it reminds me of Justin Johnson, a gentleman I interviewed who's an Americana blues guitarist, and people make him instruments like a spade, an oil can, even car parts. And he says, as long as it's got strings on it, he'll make music out of it. And for him, he just picks it up but they're those people that are at one, with the music, or at one with their gift. And because they literally, that channeling is there and the pictures are there, they don't have to look for them, it's automatic. And we really kind of want to get there, don't we, with, but you look at an actress, you look at somebody and you think, God, that was a long dialogue. I wonder how long it took them to learn that. And it's like, repeat the dialogue, repeat the dialogue, repeat the dialogue. That's set in your mind. Now put the emotion to the dialogue. And once that emotion is to the dialogue, yes,
and the physical,
yes, because
the
it becomes the
expressions, the body. That's how you do a script. First, you learn the words.
Yeah.
Then you learn how to empathize it with your voice, and then you sit in front of a mirror and you practice looking the way the words should make. You should be smiling. Someone died.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, but it's the same if you're doing a presentation at work. Right, is get into your flow. One of the most important things. I'm one of these people that when I kind of press on, the flow is there. I actually don't always remember what I've said afterwards, but I'm very in the moment at the time. I'm in flow. But you want to, whatever you're presenting, or if you're going for an interview, you want your flow to be there. And for some people, it's natural, it just comes out. And for other people, you need to do that retaining, that rehearsal beforehand, and make sure that you are very, very comfortable with it. And so not everybody is just going to turn up. And there are the people with the natural gift of,
I've been on stage since I'm 3 years old. So I never knew what it was like to not be on a stage.
Right.
So it feels normal to me, but that's, 69 years of doing it. You hope at that point, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got the other section to go to, but when I was asked to do podcasting, I didn't even know what a podcast was. And so this was 9.5 years ago. And I thought, well, okay, I'll give it a try. I'm one of those people. I don't know what I can do until I try. Right. And the first show, Monty Python, I pressed all the wrong buttons. It was live. I did first in 13 months live. It was an incredible learning curve. And I had to go through the highs and the lows and the emotions, the everything else, until I understood the reason why I'm doing it. And when I got hold of the reason why, and why it was so important for me to do it, why it was so important to bring people to the forefront and share their life experience and their knowledge, then everything else opened up and just became a natural flow. And I think that is a great deal, I've got to learn this, got to do it 8 times. Don't be mechanical, right? Step into the emotion of it, step into your why of it. Why are you having to learn this? What is the meaning behind it? Because it's anytime you're presenting anything, a singer, performer, a dry speech, whatever, if you don't put your why emotion behind it, then people are it's a bunch of words and they're not engaged.
Well, one of the things we train as speakers is, what do you want to see happening at the end? What? And so you start with the end. So everything builds to that. If you don't have your conclusion, then it just meanders all over. You have to know what you're aiming at. Zig Ziglar, I used to work with Zig, and he'd say, if you can't hit a target if you don't know what you're aiming at. And so if you're speaking, you should always have a goal in mind when you're done. What would the final chapter of this look like? What would the skills be of the audience? What takeaway would they have? What win would you be giving them? And so everything is a slide going towards that outcome. Right. And that's how you do it. You always start with the end first, knowing where you're going to be, and then you get there.
Right. What do you want people to get out of this? Because if people aren't going to get something out of it, why should they be engaged?
Exactly.
Right.
And it also helps you make them more engaged.
Yes.
Because you're building up the emotional benefit of where you'll be in a few minutes from now. If you just spend a few minutes with me, look where you'll be. Like we did. You'll learn to read faster.
Yeah.
You'll learn to copy. And we did it.
Mhm.
but we also said that's where they were going to go. I also mentioned I'd show them how to create emotions.
Mhm.
Would you like that?
Yes, most certainly. We're talking emotion right now, and so many people, oh no, just deliver. Don't bring your emotion into it. Please bring your emotion into it.
It's
Just don't be
critical.
emotional. Just don't be
Gotta be
emotional
there.
about it, but that emotion must be in there.
Must be. It's
Must be.
absolutely essential. So I was training the special forces. They're very well trained, but if they go on a mission for 3-4 days with no sleep, they might forget what they were told. You have a
Right.
bad day, I have a bad day, we go home late. They have a bad day, they don't go home. So I'm going to show you what I trained them and how to stay awake when you're tired. Because we all get to that point in the day where we're tired. Maybe you have to go to a class after work.
I've
or
just had a
you're in
weekend
long-
like that. So
Yeah.
yes.
Or a meeting, a long meeting, and you're like, someone kill me. When is it over?
Yes.
Or driving in traffic. You're
Yeah.
near Vancouver.
Am I there
Vancouver-
yet?
A lot of traffic in Vancouver.
Oh, yes.
So I came from New York. Tons of
Mhm.
traffic in there. It's one of the worst cities in the world for traffic. Not the worst, but it's up there.
Yeah.
Probably in the top 5. Anyway, so I'm going to show you what I taught them. The left side of your brain controls the right, and the right controls the left. So you're going to do this with me. You're going to take your left hand, touch your right shoulder, do it with me. Right hand, touch the left, alternating. So it's like the Macarena without the music. Now, ideally, we should stand, but we're not because we're recording and
Right.
it'll look funny. But when you're doing this later, do it standing and your knees will move. Take your left hand to your right knee and your right hand to your left knee. And when you're standing, the knees move too.
Yeah.
So both sides of your brain are doing it. Then grab your thumb like I am in your hand and say this like you mean it with emotion. I feel great. Yes.
I feel great. Yes.
No, the motion. I feel great.
I feel great.
That's it.
Yes.
If you go, I feel great, that's how you'll
Yeah.
feel later. You don't
Yeah.
want to feel, I feel great. You want, I feel great.
Yes.
So we're going to do 3 sets of these. And when we're done, I'm going to show you to wake up instantly. Are you ready? Starting with the shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do you feel?
I feel great.
Great. Yes. A little faster the second time. Ready?
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do you feel?
I feel
Feel
great.
great. Yes. Now this is as fast as you can go. When you're standing, don't be near a table. You might bang your knees.
Right.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do you feel?
Great.
Great. You know what happens? You do this 3 times, nothing. Now you probably would like something. So let me show you how that works. You remember Pavlov? He rang a bell. This is my rotary bell. I'm the president. Rang a bell, fed a dog, rang a bell, fed a dog, rang a bell. The dog drooled. You don't want to drool. The latest study showed it takes 90 days to create a habit.
Mhm.
So every day, slow, medium, fast, I feel great. Yes. Now you're in an important meeting. Don't stand up and start tapping your shoulders. They will think you're out of your mind. Grab your thumb and say to yourself, I feel great. Yes, that's your bell. Every
Right.
time you did it, you stimulated the left, the right, both together, and you woke up. So this is your bell. And this is what I was teaching them, how to create anchors for different states, like relaxation. Let's say I'm teaching you to drive. You're ready for your road test. You call me up, you failed. Why? I got nervous. It was a test. What if I didn't just teach you to drive, but how to relax taking the test? How many more referrals would I get? How many more satisfied customers would I have? So EQ is business is critical. What state do the people you're working with need to be in to do what you're telling them successfully?
Right.
What states can get in the way? And what are you doing to get rid of the states that are creating the problems? And how are you helping them create the states they need? And if you're not, that's where a lot of the failure is coming from.
Right. Right.
So that's EQ and that's emotional intelligence. And
But
there's so
never mind, just kind of the waking you up or getting you set for a thing. But I imagine this would help considerably for people with depression. It's one thing I've
Yes.
suffered a great deal with. And when that rabbit hole is opening up,
Oh, yeah.
when
I
that
can show you to
feeling is
fix
coming.
it. You want to show you how to fix it?
Yeah. Yes.
I actually know
numerous
the way
people with
I know
that.
how to fix that. Okay. The worst thing you can do when you have a negative state, anxiety, depression, fear, is to try to not have it. You say, I
Right.
won't be depressed.
Snap out of
I
it.
won't
Yeah.
be anxious.
Yeah.
The unconscious brain doesn't get it.
No.
No doesn't work. I'm going to control your mind right now. Watch. Don't think of Mickey Mouse eating pizza. And that's the first thing you pictured.
Mm-hmm.
When you say don't,
You
the
immediately
brain
do.
does.
Yes.
So how do you get rid of the state? You don't. What you do is you create the opposite. You
Right.
focus on how calm you are, even though you're not. You picture yourself calm, relaxed, happy, joyful. There is no depression. It's in here. It's in our head. Out here in the world, it doesn't exist. We created it. We sustain it by thinking about it. When we think about it, it gets existence. When we think about the opposite, that gets existence. And as our energy is flowing to what we want, the happy, positive state, the negative state is being ignored. It atrophies. It withers away. It has no life without us focused upon it.
Right.
So never try to stop a negative state.
Right.
Create the opposite and the state will disappear.
Yeah, I'm always saying is, what you feed is what will grow. Right.
That's good. I like that. I never heard that. I like that.
Well, and if you're looking at a bog and you keep looking at that bog is going to keep getting bigger and bigger and start swallowing you up. And and people will say to me, my heart's been broken. I don't want to open it up anymore. How do I open it up? And I say, go and put yourself in places where happiness will find its way in. Watch the children play, watch the doggies play, be amongst the trees and the breeze, the water lapping against the shore, amongst people laughing. Step outside of that misery and put your mind somewhere else. It will ignite, because the mind and the brain want to go there. The body wants to be in that state of being, right? So, and that heart will start cracking open. And the feeling might be kind of a little overwhelming, but go with it. Go with it. Again, step into discovery, step into wonderment, right?
One of the problems is people are very reluctant to give up their pain.
Oh God, yeah, it becomes their identity.
That's all they got.
Yes, exactly. It's their drama. It's their, and we've actually, I think, been conditioned in many, many ways by media and by society that you've got to have a trauma. You've got to have a drama to be something, and that is your debt. It's the same with illness. When people get cancer or they get other things, it's like they focus in on what they've got instead of going, okay, this is just a challenge. All right, I'm facing you. What am I going to do to find the solution that you do not dictate my life?
Exactly. And that's exactly right. And you're exactly right what you're saying. That's how it works. So in the reading program, what I do is I teach them how to read faster, how to find what matters, how to eliminate things that are irrelevant, how to remember them, and then how to create the right states so they're able to retain it and use it when they need it. So it's no longer just about reading fast, which is speed reading. It's like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Because reading slowly isn't learning. You could read any book slowly and fail the test because you didn't understand it. When most people talk about learning, they're using time and pages. Did you study 4 hours? I read 400 pages. So what? I did a graduate course in educational psych in 7 hours. It's a 5-month program. And I took the advanced placement test, which was 6 hours and 50 minutes. I finished it. I got a B+. Why didn't I get an A? I didn't need an A. I was a teacher. I needed 4 graduate credits. I didn't care about the course. I wanted 4 graduate credits. I needed a C-. So in 7 hours and 50 minutes and $65, I got 5 months of graduate work done, and I was at a B+. So one, what is your goal? Know what your goal is. If you don't know your goal, you're not going to, I didn't need an A. I needed a C-, and focus on that goal. Don't focus on things that have nothing to do with that goal. You're wasting the time you have on the goal on things that'll hold you back.
Right. And, we talk about distraction, and there's good distractions, where you need to actually paint a different picture and focus on that.
Yes.
And then there's the outside, we're back to the eye, the pupil and the eye, is that if our eyeballs are constantly going off to look at the chaos and the distraction over there, we're going to get caught up in the emotion of it. And as I say, our emotions are here for a reason, sad, glad, amber. Be in the emotion because you're reacting to something. Go through it and move on. Don't become emotional about your emotions, which we're inclined to do.
It's an alarm clock.
Yeah.
If you're upset, it's telling you something's wrong.
Yes.
But if you stay upset, you have two problems.
Right.
Problem and being upset. Once you're aware that there's a problem, now it's time to back away from the emotion
Yeah.
and get in your center and focus on solutions instead of feeling sorry for yourself.
Right. Yeah, because you'll go to a third one, which is now fear. You're afraid of the anxiety and the emotion, and now you've forgotten what you're actually afraid of. Yeah,
it goes and grows.
Absolutely.
And then nothing gets done.
Right. Now, I'm a dyslexic. So, I'm very often will say things sideways, backwards, and, write things most certainly that way. But when it comes to those things of find the one letter different, or reading backwards or upside down or things like that, no problem whatsoever.
You'd love my program then. You'd be perfect for it. Yeah. It helps to eliminate dyslexia. I can explain how. When most people drive, they read the road in 4 directions, front, back, left, and right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're watching their gauges and they're watching their GPS and they're bored. Turn on the radio, they talk on the phone, they talk to their friends in the car, all at the same time.
Yes.
And they're bored. In a book, you read 200 words a minute in one direction, and you probably remember 10% the next day. What's the difference? In the car, it's a movie. You're taking it in its pictures. In a book, it's someone talking in your head, one word at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Most people read at the speed they talk. By learning to see more movie in the book, less talk. First of all, dyslexia is often the word. So you begin seeing movies. It's a different part of your brain. It doesn't scramble.
Yeah, I'm a movie, but everything's visual for me.
Everything's visual. And this is a very visual way to read. Mm-hmm. And then when you play the movie, you turn it back to words. There's a lot of books behind me. You see them all.
Yes.
If you had to read the name on every book one at a time, it would take you a very long time to do that.
Right.
But you instantly see it.
Yes.
Vision is analog. You take it all in at once. Auditory is digital. It's one soundbite at a time. Reading should be analog. It's visual, not a digital activity.
Right.
We're digitalizing the page with our eyes. We're listening with our eyes. That's what slows you down.
Right. I drive down to my daughter, which is about an hour and 40 minutes. And yesterday I came from the cabin and it was windy and stormy and rainy. I'm not one to actually have the radio on. I love the silence. I love being engaged with what's around me. Yeah, it's I'm a storyteller. There's a story going on in my head when I'm going to sleep. There's just that, I'm a very visual person, storyteller, movie. I was a very sickly child in bed a lot of the time, left alone. And so there was always, I called it the parallel life, and I would live in that life because I couldn't live in this life. And that's entirely how I see things. And even when I'm reading, there may be certain words that just disappear for me. And there'll be other words that will come up that will trigger the visual. And then once I step into the visual of the story, then it takes on a totally different story altogether.
Well, you would love if they go to Berg Learning, B-E-R-G, Learning, like my name, Howard Berg, they can get some free lessons, try it. If they need help, we have a support team. And if they can't help them, I personally do it for 2 reasons. One, I want to know what's going on so I can fix it so no one has that problem anymore.
Right.
And 2, they paid to get something. They should get what they paid for. They should actually learn what they gave you money to learn. And that's my job. So I try to, as a Rotary president, I try to actually do what I promised.
Right.
Deliver. That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so to me, everyone matters. It helps kids do schoolwork better so they can get through their studies, get their degree, and not live with you till they're 40, like a lot of kids are doing because they have no way to make an income anymore. It helps parents make more money because every decision you make at work is based on one thing, what you know. If you know more, you'll make better choices and make more money. And it helps older people. I'm 72, keep their brain young.
Yes.
As they grow older. I don't feel anyone would say, hey, that guy's senile. I don't think I sound senile because I keep using it. The brain's like a muscle.
Yes.
You watch TV, then you're going to turn, and that's all you do. But I learn every day. I challenge myself every day. I push myself every day to keep myself learning every single day. You're alive. You're here for a reason. Imagine if every day you learned a new skill, like Photoshop, every day in an hour. And you did that for a year. That's 365 new skills you could use in your work.
Right.
10 years, 20 years, 30 years, where would you be
Mm.
financially if you could just keep increasing your knowledge base like that every single day? That's what we do.
Right.
Teach them
And,
how to learn what they need to know.
Going to children, our children in school, and the school system has to change. It's just
Oh
not.
God, it's disaster. Yours is
absolutely
better than ours. The Canadian system, ours is work. I was in a high school, 2% graduated.
The system's broken, man.
And I volunteered to teach this, and they wouldn't let me because it wasn't in the program.
Right.
And I quit. I quit my job. I said, I'm not going to make kids stupid. I'm
Yeah.
going to do this on my own and
Right.
help them get smart.
Good for you.
I can't spend the rest of my life making people dumber because you're
Yes.
too stupid to let me help.
I know. And this is kind of, I don't know if you ever remember the movie Brazil. You need a requisition for the requisition for the requisition, and all right. And very much the system is like, look, there's a new solution. There's a new program. And I interviewed so many people. There were psychologists, psychiatrists, coaches, this, that, etc. And they've taken a percentage of what they learned professionally and then go, but it doesn't work in this today's system. It doesn't work. It's not reaching the people. It's not retaining. It's not helping them. And they've allowed their own creativity to come in of a different way of delivering, a different way of enabling. And if wish the school system would be looking at the successes. It's the same with veterans. I have a whole veteran show there, and the beauty of what they're doing.
Can I interrupt you?
Yes.
I'm doing a program for veterans if in November. If they want to email me, Howard at Berg Learning.
Yes. Well, it's supposed to be post-traumatic stress disorder. And,
yes.
And that actually,
yes.
I would actually like to get a veteran on with you and do a round table, because I think that would be absolutely really beneficial. But one thing what I've learned about the veterans is they've come back and what they need is not there. And so they've created it themselves. And last week I had a fabulous show of a guy that lost his father. He was in the Korean War. His father eventually committed suicide because he had post-traumatic stress. And he didn't want to just tell it as that story. And he worked with kids, some of them autistic. So he decided to write a book about an autistic kid who had lost his father to suicide. And I said, one of the two big issues we have is in autism and post-traumatic stress. We expect them to come into our world, and we don't make an effort to go into their world and understand where they're at.
They can't. If
they can't.
Could, they wouldn't have the problem.
Exactly. Yeah. And why is it, Robin, if we step into their world and see it through their eyes? I've interviewed so many autistic people who are so incredibly talented and creative. It's just, quite honestly, they haven't bought into the BS of society. I don't blame them not wanting to step into it, because sometimes society sucks. So,
Look at the news. No one's claiming there's too many smart people making too many good decisions. I haven't heard that.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the wonderful series called The Newsroom?
I think I saw one issue.
Jeff,
it was on HBO, I think.
Yes. And it's a three-season series. It is actually kind of about where we had good journalism, really telling us what was going on, and how advertising came in and how we had to then turn it around and dumb people down. And it was just so brilliantly written. And you look at what you're looking at the news today, it's I agree with fake news in a lot of ways. Yeah, it's all sensationalism. I'd say they take a pimple and make it into a volcanic eruption, and they don't even cap the energy. And people aren't using their smarts to discern what really is true. They're buying into the hysteria, right? And this is where we've got to, hey folks, please use the noggin. Yeah, no. And
what it is thoughts are created by people.
Yes.
But then thoughts take people over. So when you see, let's take January 6th.
Yes.
Any one of those people on their own on any given day would not have done that.
Right.
But when they see hundreds of other people involved in it at the same time, it becomes a collective thought.
Yeah.
And
a hurricane.
Feel comfortable. And that's what happens is people buy into a collective thought instead of thinking for themselves. And that's part of what we're seeing indoctrination is doing, is making them tribal instead of doing what's in their best interest for everyone and seeing what we have in common and how we can build a better world together. They're looking at what's in it for me.
Yes.
Screw everyone else. And that's part of the problem we have in the world is selfishness instead of selflessness.
Yes. I'm a huge community-based person. I really do believe that, you know, a community that's full of diversity, you know, I love potlucks where everybody brings their own dish to the table, and you get to, it doesn't mean you got to like every dish, but it means you have the experience of other people's cultures.
Yes.
And fundamentally, when you look at the bottom, we're all looking for the same thing, to be, you know, to be of value, to be seen as worthy, to love, to be loved, to be a part of a community where we feel we can count on each other, right?
Yes.
And
we're stronger for the diversity, and because this gives us a more diverse gene pool, and a more diverse gene pool. If something terrible like a disease comes along, one group may have more resistance than another. Whereas if everyone's the same, it takes everyone at the same time. There's no one left.
Exactly. And, you know, this is, I feel that we, you know, at one stage with so much knowledge at our fingertips that we had the invitation to really expand beyond our own limitations that has been imposed upon us. But instead, whether it was planned or not, it became, let's dumb the masses down and only allow certain elite to grow. And your program is saying anybody, anywhere can do this. It's just a question of engagement, of repetitiveness, of really stepping into the program and allowing it to become a rhithm of life. And if you don't participate, right, if you don't participate, you're not going to get any results. So everything in our life is our choice. And if you want to be better, you know, and you want your better memory, and you want to be able to speak eloquently, and you want to be able to hold or retain information, or you really want to graduate better, or you want to be a better boss, so remember all the names of the people that work for you, all of these things that can benefit you in your life requires you to step into a system that becomes a rhythm, that becomes a part of your life, that it just allows your life to keep expanding. Right.
That's what I'm doing.
Right. But that's our choice.
Learning.
Right. You're doing the program. You've got to make the choice.
Learning by itself doesn't guarantee success, but failure to learn guarantees failure.
Yeah. I mean, I have a grade 7 or 8 education, and for me, everything, as I said, is instinctual. I literally go from the instinctuals. But I have met people with the MBAs, the DDAs, the BBBAs, the BBBS, and you can't have a conversation because everything is referred back to somebody else's knowledge and not the knowledge they've learned or the wisdom they've learned from the knowledge that they've learned. So,
they've memorized information, but never applied it in their lives.
Don't know what to do with it. You know, and so
very few PhDs are billionaires. I think it's 1 or 2%. And there's a reason. That doesn't mean they don't have skills. They do. They're good at what they do, but it's not at making money. That's not one of their skills. No.
You know, I think we're going back to like before is that do it with heart. You know, when you actually, as you said, take the words, memorize the words, now click the heart on, and then put heart to it. And then when the heart is there, the soul is ignited, the mind is illuminated, and the entire energy in your presence is exacerbated to a point where people just can't help by being intoxicated by you.
And that's what Zig Ziglar said. The fastest way to get wealthy is help other people succeed.
Exactly. And who benefits? Everybody. Because when one person succeeds, the ripple effect, right?
Exactly.
You know, we've been too much based on kind of the 1% or only those bright people. I could never be that. And I have another genre, you know, raising our gifted children. And when we actually look at our children as a gift, and we put the right things in front of them and the right skills and tools for them to open that gift, all the solutions of tomorrow are there in our children today. Let's teach them how to access that knowledge, ignite it, apply it, and grow it and trust it.
Exactly, because we're giving them all the problems. At least let's make them smart enough to fix them.
Exactly, poor kids. Yeah, you know, the entire system, human system, needs to change. And you know, I think first and foremost, ignite the heart. You know, step into it with heart, because
it's a thing. Learn the wisdom of love and learn a love of wisdom. So the wisdom of love is the compassion.
Yes.
The love of wisdom is knowing what to do.
Right.
They balance each other. Wisdom without love is selfishness, and love without wisdom could be fanaticism.
Yeah. And the same with knowledge. I don't care if you're an encyclopedia. If you haven't got the wisdom of how to use that knowledge, and then it's just knowledge. You're a database.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we want to access, we want also, I think I imagine so much when you ignite this knowledge of being able to read faster, to remember, to do all of these things. What is important, back to the peripheral vision of the eye, it's only going to take in the wisdom and the knowledge that's relevant. Right. And it's going to be able to discern what isn't.
When it's properly trained, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
This has been great.
This has really been great. And so let's look at what you're offering here. You've got Speed Reading Genius. You've got a whole load of courses here that you've got for people.
How to write. I wrote a book in 5 hours. It was #1 on Amazon. We teach how to write, how to remember, math. I do private lessons. I train companies on knowledge management skills around the world. And I'm enjoying it. I feel like I'm doing something with my life to help make a better world.
Yeah.
And God knows we need a better world, because the way it's going, there may not be a world. So I'm trying my best to ensure a future for everyone.
Right. And you're absolutely right. Is there going to be a better world? Not unless we are the ones to step up and really interact and participate with it. So, your site is berglearning.com. That's BERG. Yes. And you've got Berg Learning on your Facebook. Howard, glasses have got to go on. Howard, Stephen Berg for your LinkedIn.
Yes.
And you have a YouTube site as well.
And my email is howard@berglearning.com.
Excellent.
People who have a question they need answered.
We are not dumb, but we do a great deal of dumb things because we're caught up in a cycle. We're caught up in a pattern. We're caught up in a system that is broken and doesn't work.
Never taught us how to learn.
No.
You get a handbook with a car, but your brain doesn't come with one.
Right. Like, really manuals don't make sense to me. They're just a whole load of, I created the handbook for the brain. That's really what my program is. More than that, you created it for the heart brain.
Yes.
Right.
Because they're both connected.
Yes, because, there's people out there that know how to ignite a brain, but what is the brain without the heart? When the two of them work together in synergy, we're unstoppable. Yes. Because it's coming from heart wisdom. Love is the highest vibration you can work on.
Yes.
And if you love what you're doing, why you're doing it, and who it is working, it's not work. Right? Work. I certainly don't make the money here for it to be work. I do it because I absolutely love people like yourself who've dedicated your lives to actually helping other people be the best version of themselves and help heal our society. But my God, the human race right now is so broken, and we keep pointing. It's government, it's this, it's that. There's 3 fingers pointing back at you. You're also part of the problem until you become part of the solution.
Exactly. And hopefully they'll go to the website and learn how to be part of the solution.
Exactly. You may not want to do speed reading or writing, and that may not be a thing, but retaining information, the right information, the hard information, how to have the confidence to speak to other people, to excite other people, because it's coming from the heart with the right retained information. And getting your kids in on it, getting elderly people in it before the dementia sets in. I mean, there's so many avenues that you're helping here.
Yes,
and so I definitely want you back again. I'd love to have you on with a veteran and actually even maybe an educator. I think be a wonderful roundtable.
I know someone Bob Bear was the accelerated learning trainer for the Special Forces. And he's retired, but he deals with that a lot. So he'd be a good person to have.
We've got to do it. We've got to do it.
I'll talk to him.
Yes. And
okay.
That roundtable is both of your expertise, but it's the synergy, and
Thank you.
But
you never know. It's always bigger than the parts.
God, yes. And
Thank
again,
you for having me.
No more limitations, folks. Right? We've got so much more capability. We've just got to learn how.
It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And to everyone out there, please do not limit yourself. There's a way that you can expand your mind, heart, and soul and memory, and it's right here, Berg.com. So berglearning.com by Howard Berg. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many, many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week.
Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.